let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Healing Power of Plant Foods cooking class. My name is April and I am super excited to have you here tonight, and I want to welcome those of you who are at home watching. It's great to have you. Hopefully you can come and join us sometime. I love to be healthy and I love to cook, and I've discovered over my lifetime, over the last 35 years, that those two go hand in hand. If you want to be healthy, you don't have to love to cook, but you need to cook, and you need to spend a little time on your health in the kitchen. I come from a standard American family. We ate the standard American diet, and I watched most all of my family members get the standard American diseases: heart disease, diabetes. My mom died of cancer when I was 5. My dad died of cancer in 2005 from pancreatic cancer. And as I was growing up and watching all of this unfold, I noticed, in my late teens, early 20s, I was paying attention to the health of my family. And I decided I wanted to do something different, to change what many would say is my genetic destiny. I never believed that this was going to be what I had to look forward to. I believed that there was something I could do. And I thought at the time it was exercise, so I got very heavily into exercise, and I loved to work out. Thought that was my key to success, and I learned before too long that a bad diet, and it wasn't so much a bad diet, I was eating a pretty healthy standard American diet. I was eating low-fat chicken and fish and low-fat dairy, and I was eating beans regularly and whole wheat bread. I pretty much grew up on whole wheat bread and brown rice. I don't think I've ever cooked white rice. And so I was fairly healthy, but I didn't feel very good. I loved to eat. I loved to eat too much. I loved to eat junk food. I loved to eat sugar. I loved to eat ice cream, all the things that we love to eat. I was just a typical standard American eater. But I didn't feel very good. And this was in my early 20s. And I was really low on energy. Hair was kind of falling out. I had a hard time getting up out of my chair at work and doing my job because I was just so tired all the time. And I swear today that if I wouldn't have done something about it, I would have ended up with like fibromyalgia or something. But I did. I had a desire to change. And so I went to the doctor. He was going to put me on some medication. And I never took the medication. I never felt like that was the right thing for me. And about that time, a friend of mine gave me a couple books to read, McDougall Plan and Diet for a New America. And I made a few changes with that. They promoted a vegetarian diet, and that really wasn't really where I wanted to go. But not too long after that, I read Fit for Life, and for some reason that book just kind of grabbed me and became my nutrition Bible. And I just decided I'm going to try overnight just to go to a whole food plant-based diet and just see how it goes, just kind of give it a test. And I was amazed. Within a week, I felt so much better. My energy went from 0 to 10. And I've never looked back. I love the food. My biggest issue was sugar, because I love sweets and desserts, but I have found that you can do healthy desserts as well on a whole food plant-based diet. So and we are, I don't know if you guys know, September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we are in control, ladies and gentlemen. We have control over whether we get those diseases or not, like 95% control. Genetics is the loaded gun, but it's diet and lifestyle that pull the trigger. And it's up to us 3 times a day or 4 times, however many times we eat, if we're gonna pull that trigger with our diet. And diet is the most important thing. Exercise is huge as well to reduce risk of disease and cancer as well. Of course, our mental state is important. Our family relationships and the love in our life is important. But diet is foundational. And it doesn't have to be miserable. It doesn't have to taste horrible and we just go through life being miserable about the things that we eat because we have to eat healthy. No, it's good, it's great, and I hope to show you that tonight. We're gonna do some things that I hope you love. We kind of got a Mexican menu tonight. And I love questions. So if you have questions, I like to talk about the foods and what they're good for and everything. And sometimes I forget about things I want to mention. And so I welcome your questions because that sometimes will remind me about what I need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start off doing a super simple salsa. And I'm just going to make a note here. I don't know if the guys in the TV area know that I got a really bad echo. So maybe they could do something about that. Anyway, we're going to do a super simple salsa. And this is just something that I have been doing a lot over the summer. And I wanted something super quick and easy that I could add to my meals because I love salsa, I love spice. And this was super easy, just a few simple ingredients. So we're just going to start out with our pan here. Actually, we'll chop our tomatoes. I'll tell you my story about the tomatoes. I had the same issue last week. I had a community education class last Thursday, and Saturday before, I bought some fresh, homegrown Northern Utah tomatoes that were so delicious, and I hoped that they would keep good. They were very ripe, and I thought, I hope they keep good. Thank you. I hope they keep good until my class on Thursday, and then again this week on Wednesday. And a lot of them were getting really ripe, and I was a little concerned about them, and some of them did go bad. So I'm doing some salsa with some fresh tomatoes, and I had one of the tomatoes that I was doing for my salsa that last night I was like, I don't think it's going to make it, so I went and hurried and just cooked that real fast. So we're going to add this. Normally I would put in a pound of tomatoes, which is about 3 medium-sized tomatoes. Like I said, I got one of those cooked because I didn't want to lose it. And I just had 3 left. So, okay, so I'm going to use the Vidalia Chop Wizard, which makes this so simple, even more simple to make. You can get these at Bed Bath & Beyond. You can get them on Amazon, $20, $25 depending. They used to be 20, but they've gone up. But this is a great super tool to chop tomatoes. I bottled some tomatoes over the summer as well, and used this larger blade. It's also got the smaller dice. I use this thing about every day. Except when you're doing tomatoes, you got to be super, super quick because they'll splatter. You don't want to mess. You can whip out a whole thing of tomatoes with that so quick. And I'm just going to put that in my pan, and I'm going to turn this on, and kind of want to get it boiling. Now, tomatoes contain lycopene, and talking about prostate cancer, men who eat tomatoes on a regular basis, and cooked is even better, which is what we're doing with these tomatoes tonight. Greatly decreases risk of prostate cancer when you've got lots of lycopene flowing around in your blood. It also decreases risk of cardiovascular disease. In fact, some studies with that, men with highest levels of lycopene in their blood had a 39% reduced risk of stroke. Whoops. And women eating the most lycopene had 50% less cardiovascular disease. So it's protecting you against heart disease and cancer as well. I'm sure it has some kind of effect on women's risk of breast cancer. Onions have that same protection as well. They don't have lycopene, but they have organosulfur compounds, and we experience those every time we smell that onion. It makes us start to cry. Those are sulfur compounds that are powerful against cancer. They literally will stop tumor cells from growing, will kill cancer cells. So we want to get those onions in on a regular basis. So I'm just going to do 1 medium tomato, or 1 medium onion. Let's see, where is my wood spoon? There it is. I'm going to go ahead and throw those tomatoes in that I cooked last night. That makes our 3 tomatoes, or our full pound of tomatoes. Now I'm going to add some spice to this, of course. And I'm going to make this pretty spicy. Our Popeye Tacos, that's kind of the main dish, so I don't want to have that too spicy. But I thought I'll do the salsa just a little bit spicy. I don't know. Everybody's kind of got their different spice levels. I'm going to use a red jalapeno. Green jalapenos are unripe jalapenos. You don't need to, but I like to wait until, if I'm growing them myself or if I'm buying them at the farmer's market, I like to get them red. In fact, I have bought them oftentimes and set them out on my counter or on my windowsill, and they'll start to turn red and change off the vine. So So I'm going to use, it's calling for 2 jalapenos, and I'm going to go with this full pepper, and it says seed it, you know, depending on how hot you want it, you know, you can use the seeds. I'm just going to use the seeds of like half. I hope that's not so fire hot. And when I make it, I do put the seeds in because when I do this, I'm adding it to a lot of other stuff. So if it gets super spicy, I'm not dipping chips in it. I'm using it more to put with my meal, to stir into my meal. So I'm kind of using it more as a hot sauce rather than a salsa. But of course, if you want to do salsa, not have it so hot, then you wouldn't want so many seeds, because the seeds are really where that heat is. And I could actually chop them with this chopper right here. Forgot to do that. Peppers are super high in vitamin C, which is an antioxidant. It's one of your highest. Peppers are higher than oranges as far as vitamin C goes. And I find it interesting that they are ripe more towards the end of summer as we're going into fall, which is normally like cold and flu season. So we're loading up when we eat those peppers that are in season, we're loading up our body with that vitamin C to protect ourselves. And antioxidants protect our cells from aging. Kind of like an apple that turns brown when you set it on the counter and let it sit for a little bit, it starts to turn brown. Our bodies do that. Our cells of our bodies start to turn brown and age. And they don't start to turn brown, but they start to age. And that's because, and we need to eat more antioxidants to combat that. In fact, antioxidants are anti-aging compounds. Whenever you hear antioxidant anymore, I want you to think anti-aging. We're all looking for the fountain of youth. It's right here. It's right here in the food that we put into our body. And the more variety we get, the better. Because all these foods have all different compounds. They have different micronutrients, and when you put them all together, they work together synergistically. All right, we'll throw those in. And as you can see, this is boiling, and that's what we want. We want these to get nice and liquidy and cooked well. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit, though. And then I'm going to chop up, I don't know. I'm always nervous about jalapenos. When I'm doing them for myself, don't worry too much about it, but we're going to chop up just, maybe we'll chop up a half of that. In fact, most of the vitamin C is in the inner lining, the seeds, and in the membranes of the plant. And that's where you have your greatest concentration of bacteria, good bacteria, the kind that feed your gut. You know, we take probiotics to get that good bacteria in our body. We eat foods. We can eat foods that will do that as well. Did you have a question?
I did.
Please.
Bell peppers, red, yellow, green.
Green ones are unripe, red, yellow, or orange. So I like to get the colored ones. Not that it's bad to use a green one. I don't really like green ones. I like the flavor of the colored ones much better. So, yep, those colors. That's what antioxidants are. It's the color, the red, the purple, the green. You know, purple in blueberries and the greens and leafy greens. So, okay, so we want some garlic in here. I'm going to put a nice big clove of garlic. Garlic has those compounds kind of like the onion, those organosulfur compounds, and they have more compounds than the onion that are powerful against cancer. One of my favorite doctors is Dr. Michael Greger. I mention him quite often in my classes. He does videos every other day about all the latest research, and he's been doing that for, 8 or 10 years. He puts it up on his website for free. He does Q&As, live Q&As where you can go in and ask him questions. And he talks about the different foods and how they are different against different types of cancer. So radishes are really good for one type of cancer. Carrots may be good for another one, celery for another one. onions and garlic are good for all cancers across the board. Large European study involving 10 countries show that people who eat the most onion have the least cancers of all types. So we need to get those onions in on a daily basis, and they taste so good. Okay. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit and turn the lid, or put the lid on. Just let that cook a little bit longer. Let's see, I'm going to actually move that to the back burner and start our tacos. Actually, I think I'm going to do my salad first, so the tacos are hot when we serve it. So we're going to move over to our corn, our raw corn salad. And what I've got in my pan here, my dish, is 3 ears of corn. Now your recipe calls for two ears, but I wanted to make plenty. We were supposed to have 30 people that night, so I kind of planned on for more. But there's 3 ears of corn, and this is raw corn. I like to eat my corn raw. This is good. I got this at the farmer's market. It's really sweet and yummy, and it just has a nice crunch, and it's just so delicious this way. I've got my husband, he'll take a ear out of the fridge and just start eating it. I mean, how much more simple can eating be, right? Don't even have to cook it. Okay, so to this, I am going to add some grape tomatoes. So we got more tomatoes in today. These are raw, of course. It's good to get both our foods. It's good to get raw foods as well as cooked foods. Raw foods have what cooked foods don't, and cooked foods have what raw foods don't. When you cook a food, you're breaking up the fibers, making a lot of those micronutrients much more bioavailable. You are losing some when you cook, but you are gaining some as well. So it's good to have variety. All right, and then we're going to hold off on the avocado. We're going to go with a red onion. And we're going to chop this again with the chopper, the Vidalia chopper. And I'm going to use this smaller blade because we're using this as raw onions, so we want to make those. Don't want too big chunks of raw onion. We want to make it nice small dice. And of course, your raw onion or your red onion has got the most antioxidants out of all your other onions. Shallots are super high as well. They're one of your next most nutrient dense foods. One of my favorite nutrition experts is Dr. Joel Fuhrman. His program is a nutritarian diet, and he tells people to eat, focus on the very colorful foods. The high nutrient per calorie ratio is the key to excellent health, ideal weight, if you're focusing on those high nutrient foods. So we're just going to chop that, and we want about, again, we're doing 1 1/2, so I want about 3/4 of a cup. And the great thing about this little chopper is it's got a little measuring thing on the side here where you can see how much you're chopping. We need about another half of this. By the way, I've got a handout up there. I believe it's the orange handout. It's, I think it's a Fight Breast Cancer handout about G-bombs, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. Those are your most powerful cancer fighting foods. And those pertain to prostate cancer as well. And I think we're getting pretty much all of those in tonight. We're not doing any berries. So we'll have to go home and eat some grapes. Grapes actually are berries as well, by the way. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and measure this. Not that we really need to measure it, but okay, that's more like 3/4 of a cup. Is there anyone here who hates cilantro? Really? Don't be shy. One person, because I can pull out a little bit before we add it, because I know it's a real thing. It's not just a picky thing. It's a real thing that people have some kind of chemistry going on in their body that it tastes like soap, right? Does it taste like soap? Yeah. I will add that last and pull some of that out. So, Okay, so these tomatoes are bubbling and they look like they're cooked down really good. So I'm going to take the lid off that and just turn this down even further. And what I want to do is kind of just concentrate. I want to reduce the moisture, the water content in this, and that's just going to intensify the flavors. So I'm just going to let that for another 5 minutes or so. Okay, so I'm going to, it's popping on me here. There we go. So we want some lime juice in here. Well, we'll do the avocado first. So this is the magic. Instead of adding like olive oil or almond oil or whatever to our salad for a dressing, we're going to add the whole food fats. Whole food fats are much, much healthier than your oils. We want to try to greatly limit the amount of oils in our diet. I'm just going to turn that off. That doesn't need to cook anymore. So the great thing about whole food fats is the fats in this avocado are bound to the fibers in the plant. So when we eat it, it takes our body a long time to process that food because of the fiber. It slows down the absorption. It takes a long time for those oils to get into our cells and to work properly and to work healthfully. When we take in olive oil, avocado oil, sesame oil, canola oil, any free oils is what it's called, those oils there's nothing that binds them. There's no fiber. And so those oils are going right into our cells where we don't want them to go. For me, it's on my belly. For somebody else, it might be their behind. And if you're trying to lose weight, eating olive oil or any kind of oil is not a smart thing. And if you have heart disease and any kind of inflammatory issues, which pretty much covers all disease. All disease has an inflammatory component. And when you're eating oil, it increases that inflammatory response that your body produces. So you want to try to get all your oils from whole foods. And not only are you getting the oil and the fiber, but you're getting all the micronutrients that are in the fiber of the plant. You go home and get your bottle of olive oil and look on the side of it and see how many nutrients are in that oil, and you're not going to find a whole lot. It's pretty much 100% fat. In fact, it's 120 calories in 1 tablespoon. That's really easy, and it adds up very quickly in your diet. And you can eat an entire pound of vegetables for 120 calories. And what's going to fill you up more, 120 calories of vegetables or 120 calories of olive oil? The oil's not going to fill you up at all. It's just going to put weight on you. And it's going to increase your risk of heart disease, actually. I recommend going to, in fact, on your recipe sheet, you've got some homework on the back. If you haven't done that homework yet, because I know some of you have been in my class before, and I have that homework on the back there. I hope you'll go home and listen to Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. He talks about heart disease. If you've got some issues with that, go listen to him, and he talks about oil and why it's harmful. You can go to YouTube, and there's probably a whole hour-long lecture from him about, and he addresses the oil issue. He has a 98% success rate with his patients. He reverses heart disease with a plant-based diet. And he tells his patients absolutely no oil at all. In fact, he tells them his patients are right on the verge of bypass surgery. So he tells them not even avocados, nuts, or seeds. He wants to get them cleaned out pretty good before he even allows any kind of plant oils, because that can slow down their progress. Okay, I'm adding like 1 large avocado and then 1 smaller avocado just to increase. Avocado is nature's butter. I love to just get a knife and take some and spread it on a piece of bread, or of course it's great in the sandwich. I mix it into steamed vegetables. Any kind of steamed vegetables. My favorite is kale. I'll steam up some chopped kale with a little onion and garlic and mix it in with some rice, maybe some beans. Actually, I've got a recipe for kale and black bean tacos. So I steam up the kale, throw in some black beans, some chili powder, cumin, those Mexican seasonings, and then I get an avocado and mash it up, and I mix it into that. I take the kale and the vegetables off the stove. I don't want to cook the avocado necessarily, but I take it off the stove and then I stir in that mashed up avocado, and oh my gosh, you don't need anything else. You don't need any cheese in it, which I encourage people to reduce. And it's just so tasty. Okay, we're going to add some lime zest and juice to this. I washed my limes really good, so we're going to zest. We're going to zest 1.5 limes. Zesting is such a great way to add great flavor. These microplane zesters are a wonderful little tool to have when you're doing that. Lemon zest, lime zest, orange zest, any kind of zest is great, especially to add to salads. And of course, that's more color that we're getting in. All right, we'll go with another, about half of this other one here. We're just going to go 1.5 limes. And remember that each plant, each plant has, kind of like we have a different flora in our intestinal tract, in our gut, bacteria flora, just like we have, everyone in this room has different composition of different bacteria. Every plant has its own composition of bacteria. So when we eat a variety of those plants, we are getting in our bodies those microorganisms, and they're good, they're healthy. And a lot of times they're in the places that we don't normally use. Like we squeeze a lime, we throw out the peel, a lot of those microorganisms are in that peel. So we need to be using those foods that we normally throw out if we can, zesting our lemons and limes. Okay, I'm just going to squeeze some of this lime into the salad, about 1.5 limes. Let's see, what else do we got? We've got, we want some pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and a dash of cayenne pepper. And I'm going to add that. We've got just a little bit more than that though, since we're making more. And avocado makes such a nice dressing for a salad. You know, you can just add a little avocado to your salad and stir it around, toss it really well, and the avocado kind of gets, you know, you don't need to add any kind of oil to it. The avocado just adds a nice oil. Okay, I'm just going to take out a little bit without some cilantro. And set that to the side. And then we're going to put in our cilantro. Any kind of leafy green, you know, we talk about spinach and collards and kale and all that stuff. Any kind of leafy greens are wonderful. I love to use fresh herbs if I can. I had some fresh basil in my garden that did amazing this year. I've never had herbs do so well. I'm not sure what happened, why it did so well, but so nice to have fresh herbs. So anytime you can do fresh herbs, it always makes things taste amazing. And I just, you know, some people will pull all the leaves off, you know, so you're not getting the stem, but there's nutrients in that stem and there's flavor in that stem. You don't need to, I don't think you need to just take off the leaves and throw away the stem. We want to get all that's in there. Cilantro is really good for pulling heavy metals out of your body. We all have a tendency to have metals from just our environment, and cilantro is really good for that. In fact, I make a green drink every morning. I've been doing this for several months now, and I just have learned to love it. A year ago, if you would have said, do you ever do green drinks? I would have been, no, it's not my thing. I've never really wanted to do green drinks. I used to do smoothies, lots of smoothies for many, many years. From about 2005 till just about 3 years ago, I was doing smoothies every morning. Would pack my blender with me everywhere I go. But I kind of got to where they weren't serving me well. It was too much sugar. So just recently I learned about just how important it is to get raw leafy greens in your diet, and I felt like I was getting a ton already, but I felt like I needed to add a little bit more. So I decided to try a green drink that somebody recommended. And I put about that much cucumber, 1 full stalk of celery, and a nice chunk of cilantro. In fact, it's probably about the amount that I put in there. It's like a nice handful. And then a couple big handfuls of spinach. The gal that recommended this to me said like a half a pound of spinach. And I did that for a few days, but it was like a little much on the spinach. But you'd think that it would be this slurry of green mush, you know, spinach and all these, but it's not, because they're such high water foods. You blend it and it's very watery, very liquidy, very fresh. If you put in a little bit of lemon or lime juice, it would just make it even better, but I've got a little sensitivity with citrus right now, so I'm not doing that, but it's just very fresh and I love it. I put in some ice and it tastes so good. Great way to start off your day. I'll have a little bit of fruit and have that, and then an hour later or so I'll do some oatmeal or something heavier for breakfast.
You probably never put protein powder in that, right?
No, there's no need for protein powder. We get plenty of protein. There's lots of protein in this dish right here, and there's no beans, no nuts. I've got a handout up there. It's the green one. It's all plant foods and the percentage of protein in the food. Every food has protein. Iceberg lettuce has protein. Apples have protein. Everything has protein. We don't need to worry about protein.
How about anything like chia or flax?
You could do some flax seeds or chia seeds, but honestly, when you're getting lots of greens, you don't need to worry too much about that. I mean, those are good to add for sure. I don't know if I don't think I'd want to add that to this drink, because this drink is very watery and very just fresh and cleansing, and I think the seeds would make it thick, which wouldn't appeal to me. I mean, you can try it, but just being a green drink, I don't think it would taste good having that thickness in there. I would say if you want to do some chia and flaxseed, to go put it on your oatmeal or some kind of hot cereal, or even sprinkle it on your salad or something that's more bulky, you know. So, okay, there is our corn, avocado, tomato salad. Oh, you know what I did forget to put in with some salt? We want to do some salt, and we're going to go with about a half a teaspoon, I think, or actually a little less than a half a teaspoon. Probably doesn't need much at all. I use real salt, this Redmond's real salt. I think it's a little bit better than your regular salt. Salt is salt. It's all sodium chloride. It's all something that we should reduce in our diet as much as we can. The only bad thing about that is when you go out to eat, when you get your salt taste down, and then you go out to eat, things are so salty. And you wake up in the morning, at least I do, wake up in the morning and my eyes are puffy, my rings are a little bit tight, because I've swollen from the sodium. I'm just not used to it. So, okay, let's see. We're going to go to our Popeye Tacos. And we are going to do another onion. And I'm actually just going to slice it, because this is kind of like fajita type of a taco filling. The more you chop that onion, the more, I talked about those micronutrients that are in the onion that are anti-cancer. The more you chop the onion, the better it is, the more you release those compounds. So it's better actually if you chop them up really fine, but I am just going to slice them. And then just cut them in half like that. Now back to the oil issue. I don't have any oil in my pan. I don't need any. What I want to do is kind of brown these onions a little bit, caramelize them. That brings out the sugars and the flavor. want to break them up if I can. Now having a heavy bottom pan is helpful when you're not doing any oils, but we are actually going to add a little bit of moisture to this. Woo! The tears are going to come. That's one thing about that chopper that's really nice. It's super quick, and it kind of keeps that tearing effect from coming on too much. And I'm just I don't have to stir this all the time. I just want to keep an eye on it. I'm going to go ahead and do some onion as well. And we're going to go with about 4 cloves of garlic, since we are increasing this recipe as well. Of course, you can use a garlic press. I just like a good knife. There's something about chopping that's very therapeutic. In fact, I had this chopper probably a couple years. Somebody gave it to me, and I had it for a couple years before I even broke it out, because I just like to chop. And I like spending time in the kitchen. I'm kind of one of those weird people that like to cook. But I hurt my shoulder, and then I had to start using that chopper because I was having a hard time chopping, and I've never gone back, for the most part. Now you can see it's starting to get a little bit brown. And that's just so sugar's being created. I'm going to just add a little bit of water, and that's going to loosen that browning, and that's going to go right into your dish. Add a little bit of flavor. And I'm going to add about a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar to this. And this is something that you can do if you want to add a little bit red wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar or balsamic vinegar. You can just add a little bit of water, a little bit of vegetable broth, a little bit of, if it's going to be like a tomato-based dish, which it is, you could add some of the tomato juice. Like add some of that tomato juice in there as well. And we want to get those onions nice and soft and tender. So back to my tomato story. I had enough. Your recipe calls for three fresh tomatoes, and I've used the can before in this, and it turns out great. I love using fresh, of course, better, but my tomatoes didn't hold out for me, so very many of them anyway. So we're going to use some canned tomatoes. Okay, then we're going to add in some mushrooms. Mushrooms have powerful anti-cancer compounds as well. In fact, I'm just going to address some of the information about mushrooms. Oh, stimulates and regulates immune function. We want to make sure our immune systems are supercharged to fight cancer, as well as viruses and bacteria and things in our environment, like the C virus. We want to make sure our bodies have a strong immune system. That's going to work so much better for you than anything else. It's having a strong immune system. So mushrooms are your best way to do that. Your immune system, like 90% of your immune system is in your gut. Mushrooms feed your gut, feed your microbiome better than a probiotic. Okay. When we take a probiotic pill, not that that's a bad thing. When we take a probiotic pill, we're taking it in this bottle, and every pill is pretty much the same. It's got those same microorganisms. We want to get a variety, again, back to that with some food. If we're taking a probiotic and we're eating a lot of plant foods, that's even better. You know, if we've been on antibiotics a lot in our lives or something, and we need to heal our gut, then it's a good thing. But as far as general maintenance, we want to get lots of plant foods. They contain 22 proteins that lower cholesterol and reducing your risk of heart disease and stroke. lowering blood pressure. They help to lower blood pressure. Again, they function like probiotics, increasing the diversity of the microbes. They block carbohydrate breakdown in the meal that you're eating. So when you're eating mushrooms with your meal, decreases the carbohydrate effect that it might have on your body. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add those mushrooms. We're going to add about 3 cups. Again, I'm increasing the amount of this recipe. And I like to use portobello mushrooms, the big mushrooms, and just slice them up nice and add them. But I usually only buy them when Costco has them. They're pretty expensive. So if I don't use those, I'll use the baby bellas, which is what these are. Mushrooms contain aromatase inhibitors. Aromatase inhibitors keep estrogen levels low, and we want to keep estrogen levels low, men and women both. Estrogen feeds breast cancer. Hormones, too many hormones like estrogen feed cancer. So we want to, especially those hormonal type cancers. We want to eat those mushrooms to keep those down. They're anti-angiogenic, which means they cut off the blood supply to tumors. So when you have tumors growing in your body, you want to cut off the blood supply so it won't grow. Mushrooms will help to do that. A large study out of China, they looked at women and their diets, and those who were eating just 1 button mushroom a day had 64% less risk of breast cancer. And they mixed that with green tea, and it bumped it up to 89% less. Just 1 button mushroom a day. Super, super easy to do, and it's best to cook them. Raw, they have a garetine toxin that I don't know how, it's probably not too bad. I mean, I haven't really heard any recent research about that, but it's just advised to cook them. You know, maybe 1 or 2 on your salad occasionally is not a bad thing, but as a rule, you want to cook them. Okay, then we're going to add some bell pepper, some red bell pepper. And you can add yellow or orange if you want. You could even do green if you want. But of course, the red just makes this beautiful. Adds so much color. I don't normally like to, I like to use it for the color, and there are other nutrients in bell peppers, but they're such a great source of vitamin C. I like to keep them raw. I put them in my salad all the time this time of year. Speaking of salads, it's one of the best things you can do for your health is a big, raw, leafy green salad every day with all kinds of yummy vegetables in it. I add some whole grains to it. I add beans to it. I make it a main dish meal. And I'm going to be doing our sour cream tonight that I'll be doing is kind of a base of one of the salad dressings that I make, a creamy ranch. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that when I do that. But you want to make sure that salad has a really good, healthy salad dressing with not a lot of oil in it, or if any. All right, let's go back to my recipe here and see what we're missing. We got bell peppers, we don't have our tomatoes yet. Jalapeno, got to get that jalapeno in. And I'm going to put 1 jalapeno, but I'm not going to put any seeds in it. I don't want to make this too spicy. In fact, no seeds may not make it spicy much at all, but anybody that wants some spice can have some of that salsa. All right, oh, that's hot. Okay, we're going to put some seasonings in here. We're going to put some cumin and some chili powder. About equal amounts of that. And this is a mild chili powder. It's not going to add too much spice to it. And if it starts to get a little bit dry and you think you need to add a little bit of moisture, you can go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to add a little bit more tomato to that. And maybe a little bit of water. Or you could go a little bit more balsamic vinegar, actually. And I think I will, since I didn't increase that at all for the amount that I'm increasing. Now you could add I love to do an enchilada casserole where I kind of do this kind of thing, but I add chopped broccoli. I take broccoli and I chop it through my chopper, the larger blade of the chopper, and it's kind of crumbly, so it mixes with the tomato and everything, and you don't even hardly know it's there. And that's a great cruciferous vegetable to add. You could even add kale to it, but tonight we're going to add some spinach. This is Popeye's tacos, Popeye's favorite tacos. And Popeye, he knew back in the day, you know, how old is Popeye? He's got to be 150 by now, right? Because he was older when I was little watching him. But he knew what was good for him. He knew that that spinach was going to make him strong, because leafy green vegetables have a lot of protein in them, up to like 50% protein. We're going to do, again, I'm increasing this recipe 1.5, so we're going to put about 3/4 pound in there. And spinach, of course, cooks down a lot. Leafy greens are high in lutein. It's an antioxidant. People with the highest levels of lutein in their blood have the cleanest arteries with no atherosclerosis. Green leafy vegetables are powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Again, every disease has an inflammatory component. We want to keep the inflammation down in our diet. In fact, that's one reason that I started doing that spinach green drink in the morning, is because I've got some food sensitivities, and if I eat something that's causes that inflammation, it's in my head, like a headache. And if I can do that green drink with all that spinach, it kind of tones down that flame that I feel like I've got in my body. So if you've got any arthritis issues or anything like that, it's very helpful for that. The anti-inflammatory benefits lessen allergy symptoms. You know, when the allergy season hits, helps with that. Increases elasticity in your arteries. Your body, your arteries are lined with endothelial cells. And these cells produce nitric oxide. But they only produce nitric oxide if you're feeding your body what it needs to produce that nitric oxide. And guess what that is? Leafy green vegetables. It's the most powerful vasodilator, meaning that it dilates your blood vessels. We want our blood vessels to dilate when we're running up the stairs, or out taking our dog for a run, or working out at the gym, and our body needs more blood supply going to our heart. We want those arteries to be able to expand and open up, and that's what dilating means, and your green leafy vegetables are going to help with that. It's the most powerful vasodilator. It increases the elasticity in your arteries. Same concept there. Greens are rich in folate. You know, women are told to take a folic acid pill when they're pregnant. Well, what if we were eating lots and lots of green leafy vegetables that had folate in it? We wouldn't have to do that. Yes? Well, I like to get the vegetables cooked down before I put those in, because they're canned. If they were raw, I would put them in with the rest of the vegetables. Thank you for asking that question. For those of you, I don't know if those of you at home heard that, but she wondered about putting the tomatoes in. We want to put those in early if they're raw, later if they're canned. And I'm going to go ahead and put those in. And we're going to go about 1.5 cans on that. And that's all looking really good and done. Those peppers look like they're really tender. We don't want them too tender, but I don't really want them crispy either. So we're going to go ahead and add our black beans. And these are actually, part of them are home cooked, part of them are canned. I put them in 3 cup glass containers in my freezer when I freeze them, and I needed just a little bit more than that, so I opened up a can. But I cook my beans from scratch. They super simple. Normally I do have some canned beans on hand in case I need them, but I just take my dry beans and I cover them with water and let them sit for 24 hours. After 24 hours, I drain them all off, and I drain all that bubbly water that's on top. I drain that down the drain, and it gets rid of some of that gassy problem that there might be. And then I cook them in my crock pot. I set my timer for 8 hours, and I can cook them all night while I sleep or cook them all day when I'm at work. They really don't take much time at all. Doesn't that look so stinking yummy? It looks really good. Okay, we're going to turn that down. Let's see, where we got going here now. We've got all our seasonings, we've got our beans, we've got our spinach. I'm going to add a little bit of lime juice to this. Actually, I'm going to add that one. Green leafy vegetables are your best source of calcium. We think that we need to drink glasses of milk to get our calcium. Well, where did the cow get her calcium from that she's producing in her milk? She's not drinking milk. She is eating leafy greens like all day long. And that's what we need to be doing, eating leafy greens all day long. In a green drink in the morning, a big salad for lunch, and in our main dish at dinner time. That's the way we want to get our calcium. It's the best source. Our body absorbs the calcium in green leafy vegetables way better than it absorbs the calcium in milk, because milk has no fiber. And fiber helps you to absorb foods. It has a lot of saturated fat and cholesterol, which decreases the absorption rate of that calcium. Spinach actually is not a good source of calcium because it's got oxalates, and those oxalates bind the calcium. So you want to get your kale, collards, your cruciferous vegetables, broccoli. They're super high in calcium that your body absorbs very well. In fact, 1 cup of steamed kale is equal to the calcium in a glass of milk. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and add some salt to this. Now our tomatoes have salt in it, so I'm going to account for that. I'm just going to go with a half a teaspoon for right now. The beans did not have any salt in them though, because most of them were home cooked, and I don't put any salt when I cook them. I leave the salt out. I don't like to add any salt until I'm actually making the dish. That way I can taste it and know for sure how much I want to add. Doesn't that look so good? The red and the green, beautiful. Okay, we're just going to put the lid on that to keep it warm. And we're going to move over to our blender and make, let's see, we're going to do our salsa first. Oh, we're doing good on time. Okay, so now I have, with this, I've made this and then had it sitting on my stove, and I haven't had time to blend it, so I'll throw it in a jar and put it in my refrigerator, and then I'll go and fix dinner. Oh, I haven't blended that yet, so I'll just scoop some out and put it in with my dish. And so you really don't need to blend it, but it's just something that I do in case I do want to use it as a salsa. I haven't, not yet. I want to wait till it's a little bit cool. In fact, I'm going to just have a little taste of that and see what our heat level is on that. I hope it's not too stinking hot. It's a little on the spicy side. It'll be good with that, just a little bit on that taco. In fact, it's quite spicy. That was just half, I think it was half of a pepper. Half of the seeds. I put the large pepper and then just put about half the seeds. Or maybe a quarter of the seeds, I can't remember. And you can do this, as much as you want. You can blend it down to just really a puree, or keep it kind of chunky, which I kind of like a little chunk. And we'll put that in a bowl. tell you what I've been doing with this salsa. I love mixing it in with, one of my favorite super quick meals that I love to do. I always have brown rice cooked, always, most always. And I love to just steam up some vegetables, like just steam up some kale with some onion and garlic, mix in that rice. You could add some beans to it, although I'm not doing beans right now because of some sensitivities to those as well. And then I just mix in, instead of just mixing tomatoes into it, I mix this salsa into it, and it's amazing. Just the rice, the vegetables with salsa mixed in, so good. Super simple. Okay, there's our super simple salsa, and I'm gonna just because I don't like to waste any, I'm going to just clean that out a little bit and add that. Okay. All right, let's do our sour cream. Now this, if you compare it side by side to sour cream, it's not going to taste totally like sour cream. This is kind of more of just it's part of a recipe of a cheese sauce without the nutritional yeast in it. And if you're familiar with plant-based cooking and making cheeses, you're familiar with nutritional yeast. But I've got a little bit of vinegar. We're going a half a tablespoon of vinegar in our salsa. And you can do lime juice as well, but I kind of like the vinegar, and it's apple cider. I'm just doing a half a tablespoon. And I didn't do any salt in that, so I am going to go just a little bit of salt. Doesn't need too much, I don't think. All right, so our sour cream is a nut-based sour cream. Or not nut-based, but it's seed-based. And the reason that we go seed-based sour creams and not dairy-based sour creams is because dairy is not really a great thing. I encourage people to get dairy out of their diet as much as they can. And I don't like to talk about things that we should get rid of, but that's one thing I really recommend people get out, because milk products come from a cow that's just given birth, supercharged with hormones. If we're trying to beat a hormonal cancer, we do not want hormones, cattle hormones that are stimulated and made to grow things, because that's what cow's milk is for. It's made to grow a baby cow from a little baby cow to a big 800,000-pound cow. That's powerful growth hormones. And when we have cancer cells in our body that want to grow, we do not want to stimulate growth in those cells. Men who drink soy milk compared to cow's milk, that don't drink cow's milk but do soy milk, have a 30 to 60% decreased risk of prostate cancer. Almond milk's good. You don't want to drink glasses of it, but if you're putting it on your cereal or need a little, I don't know, if you like a little bit of almond milk or something to drink, I would recommend sticking to putting it in recipes rather than just drinking it, because it's kind of a lot of fats. But if you're very athletic and need the fats, then go ahead and use it that way. So this is a seed-based. Sunflower seeds are going to make, you're going to be amazed at what this turns into, a nice white cream. They're super high in protein, sesame seeds are. They're high in lignans, and lignans are anti-cancer compounds, those are fibers. Seeds are high in minerals. They're high in protein. So we're going to add just a little bit of water to that. We do about a cup when, by the time we're done with all that. Oh, I'm sorry, sunflower seeds. Okay. Thank you. Yes, they're sunflower seeds, not sesame seeds. Sesame seeds are really great. They're high in calcium. Great source of calcium. So we're going to go 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, and that is usually about 2 lemons. These citrus squeezers are really a great little tool to have. They help you to get big muscles. right, and then we're going to add our seasonings, our spices, or our onion powder, garlic powder. 1½ teaspoons of onion powder, ½ a teaspoon of garlic powder, and some salt. Can't remember how much salt. It's on your recipe. And I believe that is it. Lemon juice, onion powder, garlic powder, salt. That's it. And we're going to blend this up to a nice white cream. Oh, we're going to take that off the burner. So this is one of the reasons why I like to not put all of the cup of water in here, is because it always kind of flies up on the side of my blender, the seeds. And so that way I can kind of rinse down the sides with some water if I need to. Although I can just kind of get it with this spatula, but I'll still add some. Now, if you don't have a strong blender like a Vitamix or a Blendtec, what you're going to want to do is soak those sunflower seeds in the water for about a day, or 8 hours anyway, to soften the seeds so that they'll blend up. It's ideal. It's not going to blend up probably as creamy as this, so I really recommend people, if they're going to go to a whole food diet and want to do more things like this, to invest in a good blender. I've had this for almost 20 years. Never have had any problems with it. It's the best blender out there, I think. I have had to switch out this because I use it a ton and it gets really kind of nasty looking, and it will start to leak after a while. But this, my one that I have at home actually, that's really old, has lasted me a long time. But great investment. It's a major appliance. I use this more than any appliance in my kitchen. You know, my stove, my dishwasher, they're all $400 or $500. This was only like $350. So, but it's a major appliance. I use it every day. Okay. Isn't that amazing how white and creamy that turned out? And if this sits in the fridge overnight, it's a little bit liquidy now, but it'll firm up. Okay, so this is the base of my Dilly Ranch salad dressing. But what I do instead of, oh, there's some sunflower seeds that didn't get blended. What I do instead for the dressing is, instead of 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, I go 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, which is 1 lemon, and 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then I put in about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of fresh dill. Stir that into this, and it's so yummy for a salad dressing. About 1/4 to 1/2. You know, I get one of those larger, you know, those containers, those little plastic containers that you buy at the store. I get the large one, which is, I don't know, about 1/4 cup maybe. Maybe not quite that much, but I say put as much as you want. If you really like dill, put more. Okay, let's see. I think we got a spoon over here. So this we're going to treat this like sour cream, and so you can just put that when you do your taco. I've got little half corn tortillas. These are small little round taco things. Anyway, what I prefer to do is do the raw toast or the raw corn tortilla, steam it so it's flexible, so it's soft, and then fill it. But with as many people as we were having, I couldn't steam little tacos for everybody. So I did some crispy ones in the oven, 275 for about 20 minutes to a half hour, and just don't let them cook too long. But with that low temperature, they don't really burn very easily. But these make great chips, super healthy, no oil, just oven baked. I use an organic corn tortilla. I try to do organic if I can because of the GMO issue, genetically altered things I don't like to use.
What you did for salad dressing, you changed it to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice.
3 tablespoons of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar instead of that other third. So I think what I'm going to do is let you guys come up and serve yourselves, and then I'm going to do the ice cream while you're eating. That way we can I don't want to let that salad sit too much longer. It's got that avocado, that fresh avocado in there. And let's see, we'll bring this out. Okay, you guys, you can go ahead and come up and grab you a plate and make you a little taco. Be careful because that's really hot, and be careful with the salsa because it's kind of hot too.
Everybody missing the green ink. I have kale, celery, spinach, cilantro, cucumber, lime,
Celery,
lemon juice.
okay, so cucumber, cilantro, spinach, celery, lime juice or lemon juice. Yes, I didn't say kale, but I do put a leaf of kale in there sometimes.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but yeah, I do put a leaf of kale in occasionally.
Must have been just
I love kale. Yeah, kale's so great. Yeah, it's just a little bit stronger, so I don't want to put a whole lot.
okay.
Do I have spoons and everything? I guess I do. Yes,
I'm not going to be able to help you on KP. I got a guy working on my house. right
that's
now,
totally
so
fine. That's totally fine.
In fact, I'm not even going to eat.
Oh, oh.
I love the demonstration.
Do you want a little
And I know it's
plate? Do you want a little plate to
I know
go?
it's going to taste fantastic.
Do you want a little plate to go?
Get one. I'll get one on this side.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Go ahead. I mean,
long enough.
you can just butt in. I don't think anybody will care. He's got to go, so. You guys are all friends, right?
That does look good.
So how do we watch this on video?
Oh, speaking of video, is the video on still? It is? Okay. I just want to let people know at home that if you want my recipes, please reach out to me. My email address is healthforlifecooking The 4 is a number 4, so health number 4 life cooking at gmail.com. I'd be happy to send you the recipes, and I hope to see you here next time.